Devo Davis gets ejected. And man, we needed him to guard a guy going off on a career night. And Arkansas falls to the Kentucky Wildcats by a score of 88-79. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Dan Price. That's Jacob Price. This episode, we will recap that game, and but probably spend more time talking about what the future is going to look like this week, next week, postseason, all that kind of stuff. Bummer of a game for Devo to get thrown out of. It was frustrating because you had a guy going off having a career high night when the other team, Arkansas, has the best player in the conference to guard him, but he is not available. I mean, to me, this was like pretty obvious. Where you look at the kind of shots he was getting and stuff, and you look at just like the kind of player he is, his body, all the things, and you're like, really be nice if Devo was here so he could try to put a stop to that. And Devo was not available. Devo gets a double tech, gets thrown out. There's a couple of things that were frustrating. No
Those things
excuses.
were connected though. I mean, you can't decouple those things because the reason it was, I was disappointed in Devo. I mean, I understood it because, you know, uh, I don't think the refs, we can talk about the Sheboy thing earlier, but I think that it's not an excuse, but the fact that there was injustice there
Yeah.
and that added to the frustration that Devo was feeling in that moment. Um, but the fact that like that guy was going off before Devo got thrown out, like big time.
He
And
was, yeah, but you still needed Devo to guard him.
you did, but that what I'm saying is those two things weren't
Yeah.
unlinked, which is the reason Devo was frustrated. I mean, there was no reason for him to be so frustrated that he gets thrown out of that game. That you know, when the foul that they called was a foul,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a foul because he was getting into it with that guy, and that guy was getting the better of him up to that point. That guy was getting the better of him, and he was talking smack to Devo, and like I said, maybe there was a little bit of some dirty stuff that happened before that, but Devo and that guy got in each other's faces. That guy managed to keep his head and stay within his game and still and this is not an easy thing to do. I'm saying this as a compliment to that guy.
Yeah.
When you're getting into it with a guy, I find it way harder to play offense than defense because offense is so finesse
Yeah.
and shots don't go in just because you're angry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas you can take your energy on defense to another level just through effort and energy. Offense doesn't really work that way. You still have to, well, I mean, unless you're just bullying guys because you're huge or something, but if you're trying to make hard, leaning 14-foot jump shots and stuff, that's just still has to be under control. And that guy managed to stay under control and continue to be effective. Whereas Devo let it get in his head. And you could see from the start he was about to foul that guy after that little, you know, thing that they had. The refs tried to calm them down. And Devo was a man on fire and he did foul that guy. And then he flipped out and I have to say, I'd like to hear what you think, but I think, and like I said, it's not that the refs were, the refs started, I think the refs started it by unjustly, not, even if they hadn't thrown Sheboy out, the fact that that was a neutral call, two fouls, and we didn't even get a first grade technical and get the ball and a free throw. If they didn't want to, if I get it, they don't throw star players out. LeBron gets the calls, whatever. It's too early in the game.
Dude,
And
it's preposterous that that's not a flagrant one.
that's what I'm saying. Like you could argue flagrant two, which I think it actually does fit the bill of flagrant two,
Mm.
especially because he hit him in the throat with his hand before.
He hit him in the throat, and then he hits him twice. The more you
And
watched it, the more you were like, well, yeah, Mitchell's kind of getting into it after you get slapped in the face like a little bit, but he never hit Sheboy above the shoulders. What's going on here?
yeah, Mitchell. They were mutually fouling one another, but Mitchell's fouls were all stuff you see on every play between big men with
And
hand fighting.
below the shoulders.
hand fighting in the back and waist area. And Shibwe hit him high in the throat with his hand and then hit him in the side of the face with his elbow. The fact that that's, I mean, like I said, it was
And
a
by the way,
miscarriage of justice.
and on purpose.
Yes, and it was a miscarriage of justice that they didn't. I couldn't believe we didn't get the ball. I thought he was getting thrown out for sure. But even if I get it, like I said, I don't agree with it. He probably should have been thrown out by the letter of the law. But it was too early in the game. Kentucky's a blue blood. Oscar Shibwe's their best player. It's too early. Like if I bet if it was the fourth quarter, they probably would have thrown him out. But it's like we're not throwing him out in the first quarter and handing the great advantage of this game over to the home crowd. But still, the fact that they called that an even thing between those guys was an absolute absurdity. And I think that did set the. I'm not blaming the refs, but that's because Arkansas played bad. Arkansas did not deserve to win that game. They didn't play well enough. But that all the frustration that bubbled up for the rest of the game started with the refs not calling the game fairly. You know what I mean? Like that was unfair, and there's just no way around it. Like,
well, dude, it was exacerbated because Devo got double teased and got thrown out. Oscar Shibwe will get teed up later in the game after he doesn't get teed up. Because here's the thing, it wasn't double technicals on Mitchell and Shibwe. It was just double fouls. Crazy. No, I know. Crazy. Like, so it's not double technical. So Shibwe doesn't get a technical there. Then later on, when he hits another dude in the head, does get a technical, but he's still in the game because he's only got one technical. And the idea here is that who deserved to be thrown out of this game more, Devo Davis or Oscar Shibwe? And it's not close, dude.
Yeah.
Devo Davis got teed up for saying something. Or for being.
I mean, I don't know what he said. I mean, it's probably, I'm guessing you just said that's BS or.
Yeah, dude, whatever it is. But like anyone objectively watching that had to be like, freaking crazy that you just threw that guy out. Meanwhile, that guy is still in this game. So, yeah, that felt like you got the short end of that stick big time.
And the reffing, and like I said, I hate blaming the refs, and I do not blame the refs for us losing that game, but it was a very ugly game, and some of it was on the refs as far as they did this thing where they would call they'd let the people would get into it and get frustrated, so they'd call a few ticky-tack things, and then they'd feel like, okay, there's it's early and there's already been 5 fouls called, or everybody's getting really frustrated, so then they'd let something go that was obvious. And I'm talking about even for the Razorback, like somebody would go through the lane and they'd get hacked up and they'd let it go, and it's just frustrating basketball for the players. It's frustrating to watch because you're like, I want you to call fouls when they're fouls. Don't call them when they're, just because the energy is high and you're just anticipating. They did a lot of anticipating, and just wasn't good reffing. You know what I mean? All the way around, it wasn't great reffing. That being said, put that aside, the Razorbacks did not play well enough to win this game. Really, they didn't defend smartly enough.
Losing Devo Davis hurt. Like, I'm going to tell you why we lost the game here in a second, and that's not why. But that hurt. It hurt bad. I mean, you lose your best perimeter defender. That hurts. And Devo's was playing pretty well offensively up to that point, and we needed him.
Yeah,
I mean, that didn't help.
I mean, Jordan Walsh actually. I think if you go back and you look at it, I actually do think Jordan Walsh did a better job on that guy than Devo did, but that's not usually the case.
Yeah.
But I think he did the majority of his scoring before Jordan Walsh got on him. He still got off, it's not like Jordan Walsh, nobody shut him down, but I think he already had like 26 points when Jordan Walsh.
What did he finish with? Almost 40?
Like 38, I think. Yeah, something like that.
I can look. I say I have the freaking stats right in front of me. Why am I asking this question? 37 points.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what here's why we lost the game. We lost the game because we went 22 of 34 from the free throw line. That's 64%. That's not going to work. And we lost the game because we did not. Now, I'm not saying they were all bunnies, but we did not make contested at the rim shots at a high enough rate. I'm not saying they're easy shots, all of them. I know you're getting guarded. Those guys are big. We did not put enough balls in the hole in the paint at the rim to win this game. We just didn't. And that, to me, that's the whole game. The whole game is free throws and those medium degree of difficulty at the rim shots. We didn't make them.
No, there was so many times where you felt like Council or Black or Nick Smith or even Jordan Walsh a few times, or even some of the Mitchell guys got rebounds on it. Like there were so many times where it looked, I mean, there was a lot of dribbling around, and then finally Council would find the advantage, get the guy on his back hip, and you're like, okay, he's got a good shot at, he's running downhill at the goal. And like I said, the help defender would usually come over and make it a tougher shot. Probably 70% of the time they got fouled, but they just didn't finish a lot of shots that could have been and ones, a lot of shots that weren't and ones and just were difficult layups. And then, I mean, there was just some putback dunks that went off the back of the rim.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of missed shots in the paint. And like I said, again, they were Kentucky's big and long, but they were ones that we were capable of making. And credit to Kentucky. I mean, they took what could have been downhill, hard, tough layups, and they just fouled us and put us at the line and probably turned away. I mean, we'd missed the front end of a couple.
They shot 14% better at the line than us. I mean, they shot 78.8%. We shot 64.7%. That's a lot of it right there. I mean, you left 12 points at the free throw line. You missed 12 free throws. You're not gonna make every free throw, but like you got to be closer to that 75% as a team, and you're 10% away from that. Then we shot 35% from the floor. They shot 54% for the game.
That the making, if we just make
you're like, I can't hear you right now. I can see you. Like, did your mic come up, bud?
I can hear me.
Oh, there you go. Now you're back.
Weird. I think it was an internet thing.
Oh, maybe.
Anyway, so what I was saying is through the whole first quarter when we were like down by 6 or down by 8, I'm looking at the free throws and going, if we had just made a couple of more free throws, there is a difference between that lead being you're only down by 4. That feels like it's anybody's game versus 8 feels like, we need to like start to score. And it puts a certain amount of pressure on your offense that if you just make your free throws, that game's like almost never beyond a 6-point game. You know what I mean? If you just make a slightly higher percentage, it's just keeps the game from being, instead of an 11-point game, it's a 5-point game. It's like you just got to make enough. The free throws are the band-aid to hold it together for you so that lead doesn't keep growing. It's very frustrating when you're watching your guys continually go to the free throw line. You're like, okay, it's a 5-point lead. You can chip into this, and instead you get nothing, and it's a wasted possession. And they go down and score, and you're like, this should have been. This lead shouldn't be growing at this pace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we didn't play terribly, except for those two areas.
Well, the offense from the floor in the second half was pretty abysmal. I mean, there was like a 6.5-minute stretch where we did not score a field goal, and a lot of it was those bunnies that you're talking about. Where like,
we were getting those shots. I mean, you just gotta make them. Like it wasn't like the offense. It was like not finishing stuff. And I mean, it is weird too because you look at the stats and stuff, and you're like, I mean, Anthony Black had 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. It seems like that's okay. That's all right. Nick Smith Jr. played pretty well. He had 25 points, 6 assists, 4 steals. You know, he didn't play bad. Um, it it just wasn't enough. Dude, what if I told you this? How many turnovers do you think we had in this game? How many turnovers do you think we had in this game? Unless you already know.
I don't know, but I'm gonna guess 5, 6.
We had 6 turnovers in this game.
I only know that because I heard them say we only had 2 in the first half. I
Dude, if
think.
you told me that we were gonna play Kentucky, we were only gonna turn the ball over 6 times, I'd be like, we're gonna win. That is like no turnovers. You might as well have 0 turnovers. I mean, you don't. That's as few turnovers as you have in a college basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Just, dude, just wasn't enough.
Well, and like
So
I said, yeah, it's not some guy. I mean, Nick Smith's stats looked good, but they're still. Can you hear me? Because
mhm,
okay. Sorry, my internet must be funky. Um, but you look at Nick Smith's stats; they're pretty good, but everybody else's stats are mediocre. And if I had to guess, I'm saying we also uh lost the rebounding battle. Probably. I
we
had
had
to.
we had 35 rebound, 35 to. Oh, why did I close that? Um, 35 to 41. Yeah. They turned the
Yeah.
ball over. But dude, if you said, "Hey, you're gonna lose the rebounding battle by 6, you're gonna win the turnover battle by 9." I mean, we turned them over 15 times. You
Hmm.
know, that's just
But some of the, it was weird though. Not all turnovers are the same, and a lot of those turnovers were very like we'd steal the ball and then throw it out of bounds. You know what I mean? Or we'd
mhm.
steal the ball, pass it up, get blocked, and it's just like they just turned into they weren't good. I would say at least half of those turnovers weirdly didn't turn into any kind of a productive
Yeah.
offensive possession. Like it just turned into like
You know,
another
who
turnover.
played
Or
good? Kamani Johnson played good. Senior night,
yeah,
last game at Bud, he played pretty good. He was
I
he
was
was
really hoping
bringing
that he would
energy.
like have some kind of a savior night. That would have been nice for him.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
well,
Well,
we didn't.
let's talk about what this means going forward because the SEC tournament is set and we are playing in the second round. Hey, you stay out of the first round, which I mean, I don't know. You have to be having a disaster season to be playing the first day, but playing the second day, that's for sure. And it's not great news as we are going to play on Thursday night at 6 o'clock against Auburn. And here's the thing that's rough about this game is Auburn really needs to win this game. Real bad. They need to win it. They need to win it according to the computers more than we do, which is wild. But it feels like I don't know if this is going to happen, but like, am I going to be surprised if this is if the committee is going to look at this game and say, oh well, this is easy. You just treat this like a tournament. The winner of this game is in.
I mean, I don't know. You've maybe been watching more news, but I don't. I can't. I think if Arkansas loses this game, I do not see how they get put in the tournament.
Yeah, I
I know.
mean,
I know they. I mean, we've been.
sometimes the committee just doesn't give a crap about conference tournaments at all. They don't consider it. The only thing they consider is if you win it, because then they're obligated. They have to put you in, obviously.
Mhm.
Last year with Texas A&M, I think you saw this. It just I don't know. Like you'd think it matters. It kind of looks like they don't give a damn like what happens in the tournament.
Well, I agree with you from the sense that it's a weird position that Arkansas finds itself in. Like I said, we've talked about this but a million times. It's weird that you can tell that the committee and the pundits want to put Arkansas in,
Mm-hmm.
partially because of like what they've done the last couple of seasons, and also because they got all these great players, and
Even
there
though
was
dude,
all these.
we have like exacerbated our or we have used up but our best player was hurt excuse. Like we needed to win one of these games, man. Like because he's
Oh
back.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like we have not basically that we're in a position where it's like the committee is going, help us help you. And what we
Mm-hmm.
needed to do was win one of the last 3 games. and we didn't. And now we put them in the position with our record because, like I said, I'm not trying to be negative, but the regular season's over. At some point, you are what your record is. It doesn't matter who had injuries. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter, that you have all this potential. You're not your potential. You're not what could have been. You're not, if the ball had bounced a few times different, you're just what your record is. And right now, what Arkansas's record is a barely average SEC team. That's what the record says. I mean, you're right in the middle of the road, and uh, you unfortunately you've had some tough losses, and you're the 10th best team in your own conference. You're 2 games below 500 in conference. You're uh, there's eight, no, what is it, 9 teams in conference that have better conference records than you, and of those 8 teams, I think I'm right about, or of those 9 teams, only 2 have worse overall records than you do. And one of those teams is surging right now. I think it's Vanderbilt, who's like they beat Kentucky. And
Yeah, their overall record is just not good. They need to go on a run in this tournament if they're going to get in. That's for
but
sure.
still, so there's 2 teams in front of you. So you're by any metric the 7th best team in the SEC.
Yeah,
That's
I'll go over this. I mean, so Joe Lenardi has updated. I mean, he's whatever you think, he's right more than everyone else. So bracketology updated today. So this is end of the season. Everything's you have Alabama first overall seed. First team out is Utah State. Last team in is Penn State. Here's your bubble. Your last 4 in Mississippi State, Nevada, Wisconsin, Penn State. Last 4 byes, Pittsburgh, NC State, Auburn, and Rutgers. So you got 2 SEC teams in that last 4 byes and last 4 in. So he's got Mississippi State going to Dayton to the play-in. Let's see. He has got 8 teams from the SEC going to the tournament, and currently has Arkansas in the field as a 9 seed. And I'm going to be honest, to me, that is generous. I just feel like it's so generous. That is really generous. I feel like.
Well, I mean, I guess, like I said, if they take 8 teams from the SEC, then I do think maybe I think Arkansas would be in. But like I said, it's just if you look at, I mean, it's tough when you look at the SEC standings and you go, we're the 10th team, and then you can look down and you're like, and there's the only 2 teams in front of us that are that we could even have an argument about because it's all the other teams have better conference records.
The
Some
issue
teams, but
is this: you're the 10th team, but Florida is 9-9 in conference, but they're 16-15 on the season. Like they're not good. They're not getting it. There's no
right,
way they're getting it.
that makes
The other,
sense. Their
the
overall
other,
records.
yeah, the other is Vanderbilt, 11-7 in the conference, 18-13. Now you might be like, well, that's not that. I mean, that's pretty close. Arkansas is 19-12, but they just
Well, and you can
don't.
make an argument that we're fading and they're surging
You can't.
because they're
Yeah,
winning games and we're losing games.
yeah. The computers just don't love Vanderbilt for whatever reason. Obviously it's all in the net and who did you play in non-con. All this kind of stuff goes in to it. Did you lose to someone really, really bad that you shouldn't have lost to, like really terrible? By the way, Arkansas is one of those. I mean, we lost our first conference game to LSU, who turned out to be horrible.
I know that. Well, that's the thing is sometimes you can make an argument, but I'm looking at Arkansas' schedule and I'm like, we've done everything wrong as far as like if that the committee's looking for an excuse to get us in there, and we've lost games. Sometimes you can go, well, they're undefeated at home. I mean, they're just unbeatable at home. Say they lost a few road games. It's like, no, we've lost games that we shouldn't lose at home. We've lost to a couple of bad teams. We've
I've
gotten our
listened.
butts kicked a few times by good
Dude,
teams. It's like,
I've listened to some unbiased guys, some like non-Arkansas fans, like national guys who week after week say this as they're like looking at the field. And they're like, tell you what, it's going to be hard for Arkansas not to get in because the computers are in love with Arkansas. They love them. And it is such a, I feel like Arkansas fans usually feel like the computers don't love us for whatever. Like we're like, hey, we're getting ripped off here. Everyone's just like, I don't know, man. The computer looks at their thing, and the computer is what the computer is, and just when it's ranking, like doing rankings, and it just loves Arkansas. I don't know why.
I mean, I think it's based on like I said, Musselman's record. I mean, there's no coach hotter in the country than I mean, arguably than Musselman over the last 3 years. And so it's the coach. It's that they've seen when you see a team in the Elite Eight
It's the
multiple
athleticism on
years,
the roster. It's like
all the articles written about how many NBA players are on the team. It's like there's a certain amount of investment that gets on your side. And it is rare. Like for Arkansas, is not usually in this position. Usually we're
mm,
in Vanderbilt's position and we're looking up at Florida or Tennessee or
yeah.
Kentucky. And
Yeah,
so it is strange.
Vanderbilt's sitting there being like, "Hey, we have one more loss than them, but we have a way better conference record than them, and we beat them."
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Like if I'm Vanderbilt, I would be pissed if Arkansas got in front of us, especially
which, by the way,
If Vanderbilt goes.
is gonna happen if Vanderbilt doesn't go on a run in the SEC tournament.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if Vanderbilt goes in and wins a game in the SEC tournament and we lose to Auburn, we're going to make it so hard because then the overall records are even. Now,
Mm,
like you said, and this is what I was going to say before is I agree with you that when the conference when the committee doesn't want a team in, like they're kind of like, yeah, like say A&M from or like you were saying or whatever, there's like and the team goes on a run in the tournament, they can use the tournament as an excuse to go, yeah, but we don't look, I mean the tournaments are kind of
yeah,
superfluous, we but if they want a team in and they need that team to have a better record than someone, they'll be like, yeah, well, they're overall after the tournament, they one game
yeah.
better than that team, so that's why we took them. They can use it however they want to use it.
Yeah.
And what I'm
Dude, by the
saying
way,
is,
I thought I am and was of the opinion last year. I thought Texas A&M got hosed last year. I thought they should have been in, and their performance in the NIT told you they should have got in. Like, they totally should have got in.
mhm. Well, and what I was saying is the Arkansas. The reason I think they need to beat Auburn to get in is I am worried that Vanderbilt is going to go win a game, and
Yeah, who's
that
Vanderbilt's? Vanderbilt's got a much easier draw than us, dude. Of course they're going to win a game. I mean,
well,
not of course because they're capable, but Vanderbilt's going to. Dude, Vanderbilt's sitting there on the second day waiting for the winner of the LSU Georgia game. That's who's playing Vanderbilt, the winner of the LSU Georgia game. So not only do you get to play LSU or Georgia, who both are not good, but also will have just played the day before. Like, yeah, like I mean, it's possible Vanderbilt loses, but probably Vanderbilt wins that game.
we need them to lose. Because I'm telling you, like right now, Joe Lenardi's thing or whatever, that stuff can change. And I'm telling you, if there's a because you have a few days between if Arkansas loses on Thursday to Auburn, especially if they lose,
Vanderbilt beats LSU or Georgia.
right? So now we have the same overall record, correct?
No,
Is that right?
no, they'd be they'd be better than us because they have one more win than us. I don't know. Maybe they played one more game than us. I don't know exactly how this works, but
So, but at any rate, their record would be at the tied or better than ours.
yeah,
Their conference record would be 3 games better than ours. They've got the head-to-head victory. There will be a push, not that there will be very much from Vanderbilt fans, but like there will be arguments beginning all to swell up on Friday and Saturday about which one of these teams is going to be the last SEC team in. And I'm telling the committee will feel pressure because there's really no way to justify it other than
mm-hmm.
just we're eyeball testing it, and they've got better players than those guys.
Yeah. I think Vanderbilt. I think you need to assume that Vanderbilt will win, and that's why you need to win.
Mm-hmm.
If the bracket does break down like this, also if you happen to get past Auburn, you get Texas A&M, and after that you get the winner of Kentucky versus probably Vanderbilt. You get the winner of that. I would actually love to see Kentucky again. Man, I hate Kentucky. I gotta tell you, really don't like them, and so I wouldn't mind seeing Kentucky again. But one thing at a time. Got to get past Auburn because Auburn needs that game. I mean, when you're the last 4 buys, you need that game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
all
I
right,
mean,
man.
I would like to see Kentucky again. I mean, yeah, that it's going to it's one of those things where that game was. I mean, it was nice to beat them at their place. It's always, I mean, beating Kentucky in Rupp is just different than anything else. Those
Mm.
stupid smug Kentucky fans, like all dressed in blue, like always. I mean, it's like beating Duke or North Carolina in their
Mm.
place. Like they're just so used to winning there, and they're so, I guess, I mean, not to overuse the word, but like sort
So
of
blue.
a privileged fan base, where it's like they don't even realize, you know what I mean? It's like Alabama football fans. It's like to watch them lose at home is always a treat, but for them to come in and redeem themselves and get the revenge, so they've got like the last blood, you know what I mean? Like they got the last punch in, and for it to be that way, where you feel like they get away with some dirty stuff, your player gets kicked out, they kind of humiliate you, and when in a game that you needed worse than they did, and when if we don't see them in the tournament, that's it. Like these players will never see those players again. It'll be a different Kentucky team. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll for the fans, they'll always be next year, and we'll be able to talk smack on Twitter if we beat them next year. But for the players, you know what I mean? Like Devo will never get redemption against that guy, and the Mitchell twins will never get to play Sheboy again.
Mm.
So it will feel like a little bit of a open wound, and
Yeah.
like I said, and it's highly unlikely. That's the likely scenario is just that that's it. It would be nice to try to get some redemption.
Yeah. I
So
agree. Well, right on, man. Well, we'll be back. SEC tournament starts Wednesday. Arkansas plays Thursday. We'll be back to break that down. Hopefully, talking about what will be happening in our next game on Friday. That's hopefully the conversation we'll be having. So,
I hope so.
all right, man. I'll see you then.
All right, dude. See ya.
Bye.